Would you represent only a buyer or a seller if the other side has their own attorney?
Yes, frequently we'll represent one side only when the other side is represented by someone. That's usually a case in which one of the residents comes out of school, finds a job opportunity he'd like, and that seller already has his attorney or has had the practice appraised by someone else, and he wants us to represent him. But it does occur. I do think I should share with you my story of how I got into this business, though. In the late 90s, I was at the NISO meeting at Copley Plaza in Boston, and I was giving a talk on practice transition. A resident from NYU came up after the meeting and said, would you consider hiring me, let me work for you as an associate, maybe buy your orthodontic practice out at some time? And I said, well, really, I'm getting pretty busy doing this orthodontics and law at the same time. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go home, I'll do the appraisal, I'll draft up a 6 months employment agreement for you, then I'll do a 6 months post-closing employment agreement for me. You can buy me out after that first 6 months, and we'll be done. So I did that. I sent it to him, and he said, oh, you're in this business, I feel a little uncomfortable with that. Do you mind if I hire my own appraisal firm? And I said, no, go ahead, as long as you pay for it. So he did. But it took 6 months from this competing firm to get the appraisal done, and they'd appraised it at $17,000 higher than I did. And then he had to pay him $10,000 for the appraisal fee as well. So now he's out $17,000. And then we sent the documents, to his attorney because this practice transition firm didn't have lawyers. So he had to hire his own local attorney, who happened to be his dad's friend. And I supplied that attorney with all the copies of the documents. That meant I had to hire my own attorney. So I had to send copies of the documents to my corporate attorney. And they piddled around back and forth, months and months. Finally, we had a closing, and I was happy to see none of the words were changed. Only a week later, I got my bill from my attorney, and it was $22,000. I couldn't speak. I literally couldn't speak for days. And finally, I asked my associate, how much did your attorney charge you? And he said, oh, he'll let me pay over time. Well, I knew that was bad. And it ended up being $25,000. Not one word had been changed. I drafted all these things, and yet we're spending $75,000 for this process.